today we have a very big day for me because I finally get my dirt bike running. It's been probably about 6 months since it's ran last, maybe, I'm not sure, but I know I didn't run it over the winter because the carburetor got clogged up and I pulled it off and tried to clean it. And actually this is one of the hardest carburetors I've ever worked on because it's just so hard to take off. It's such a hassle. So today I'm trying to take it off again, and I got the carburetor kit to rebuild it, so here we go. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is drain the old gas out here because it's been in there for a really long time. So just to make sure we don't have any problems with old gas, I'm just going to drain that out, and I'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, so now that the gas is all drained out, I can get started working on the carburetor. Alright, so next you're going to want to loosen the screw on the breather hose right here to loosen that clamp so you can pull it off. And then there's another one right here that you have to loosen to take off too. And the reason why I said this is such a hard carburetor to work on is because this is an Allen wrench. Like, I don't understand why they would put that there, but to get this off you need an Allen wrench, and for this a Phillips screwdriver. Usually they're both Phillips screwdrivers. So alright, so now that I got the right size Allen wrench here, I can loosen up this screw on the front hose. After you get that nice and loose, you're going to want to go ahead and pull a little bit. Try not to flip your bike over. And just kind of get them loose out of there. You can even use a flathead screwdriver to kind of pry on them and get them off. But be careful not to mess up your clamps, because I have done that before and just completely bent a clamp trying to get these hoses off and on, because they are a hassle. You're also going to want to pull all your vent hoses out so you don't have that attached down there. So get all those out here out of the way. And next, you are going to pull the choke off right here on the top left of the carburetor, and for that you need, I think it's a size 12 wrench maybe. I don't know, I remember it's hard to get in there to pull it off. You gotta kind of shift the carburetor where you can get in there to it. Alright, so actually I lied. I'm having to use a size 14 to get it off, and using a flathead screwdriver for a little bit more leverage to get in there to get it off. And it's actually really hard to get in there, which is another reason why I hate working on this Kawasaki. I worked on Yamahas and Hondas, This thing is the hardest thing to get off. It's just an absolute piece of work. That was good, but I got it out. Alright, so now that we have the choke out, you're going to want to try to pull the carburetor down a little bit so you can get all the stuff that's on top of it off. And I'm throwing things. So, once you get the carburetor pulled down a little bit, there's a clip right here on top of the carburetor. I'm not even sure what this is for, but you just press down on one side of it and pull it apart, just like that. And now I'm gonna go to the other side and take off the throttle cables. Alright, so please excuse the dogs barking, but to get to the throttle cables you need to move your Kickstarter out and get that out of your way. And I don't have a number 10 wrench, which is what I believe this takes. So I'm just reaching in there with pliers and spinning them off. I don't think they're in there that tight, so. Just loosen those right up. And then again, you'll need an Allen wrench here to take that off to get the throttle cables off. Have you ever seen it take so long for someone to get an Allen screw out? There we go. Finally got it to break loose. That took way too much effort. Alright, so we got that cover off. And now now what you're going to want to do is get the throttle cables out. And remember which one goes on top and which one goes on the bottom, because if you don't, you'll have major trouble down the road. Alright, so now it's time to go back to the other side and get this carburetor off. So the best way to get this carburetor officially out is to basically just pull and try not to break anything. Make sure you got everything loose. That definitely didn't sound good. So that hose on the back still has it there for some reason. Let go. Let go. Something still got it in there. Is it still attached somewhere? Did I forget something? No, I think it's just playing hard to get. Just playing hard to get, as usual. And there we go, we're out. And see, that's what I mean about those clamps. I just completely destroyed that one. But we'll straighten it out and still get it back in there. No big deal. Yeah, we'll get it straightened back out later. Nothing to worry about now. So there will always be some old gas in the carburetor, and yes, I just dumped it all over my garage floor. But stuff happens. So next, what you're going to want to do is use a Phillips screwdriver. Use a Phillips screwdriver and take these 4 screws out. So I just got those last 2 screws out there. It was actually like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Not really, but it was so hard for some reason. They were both stripped and it was just awful. So now you're ready to just pull the carburetor apart. And oh yeah, just what I expected. It's really nasty in there. You can see just like old grunge on the float there. So we're gonna take this thing apart and put some new parts in it. That's awful. I'm gonna spray it down real good before I get too into. Alright, I'm gonna take it outside and spray it real quick. So I just went to the auto parts store and picked up a can of this carburetor cleaner and this carburetor cleaner. And I just dipped the bottom half of my carburetor in this for about 15 minutes and it actually cleaned it up so well. It looks so good now. So now I just have to get the top part clean. I'll probably dip it in there and then I'm going to take some of the jets out and replace them and we'll be good to go. So I'm kind of just doing this to make sure if I forget by the time I get to finish or something. I took this jet out of here right off the top, and then I took this jet out of the middle here. That's a long one, it comes right out of the middle. Took the plastic off, Then there's a little jet right here that I just took out, and it came out with a spring and a washer below it. So I'm pulling this jet out right here, if I can get it right next to the, it should come out of there. There we go. Pull that jet out. These are looking pretty nasty, so I'm glad I got some new ones. Then there's one right here that's kind of stuck in there. I'm not sure how I'm going to get it out. Alright, so I just got this long throttle pin out. I took a big screw out of the top right there of the throttle plunger, and this big long pin comes out. And then it has a C-clip on the top, which is at the 1, 2, 3rd notch down, so I'm sure that's important to make sure that's on the right notch. It looks pretty nasty too, so I'm glad I can put a new one in there. Maybe we'll be good to go. Alright, so it is now day 2 of the carb rebuild process, and I just pulled all of these hoses off, the vent hoses off the carburetor, and I dunked it in this chemical dip stuff, and I am just waiting for it to come clean so I can put the new jets in and all that, and then we should be good to go. So I'm gonna wait about 20 minutes in this chemical dip, and we're gonna see how it goes. Alright, so I just took my carburetor out of the carburetor cleaner, and I'm letting it dry off just a little, making sure it's nice and clean. Probably give it just a little touch of this, just to make sure that's everything's all clear in there. Make sure it's ready to go. And I think we're good. Just need to let it dry off a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and start putting it back together. So we have our carb rebuild kit here, and I will put the link to this in the description of the video in case anyone's interested in finding it. Alright, so I'm just checking to make sure these two throttle needles are the same length, and they are. They're the same. I just want to make sure. So, alright, where are you? Get this little C-clip right here. These things are the hardest thing to mess with. Gonna put it on the 3rd one from the top. Please excuse the train as it goes by. Alright, so just getting these jets back in there. It's not hard, you just have to kind of remember what jets you took out of what places. Not a big deal at all, except I did forget to put this plastic on. Just snugging up all these jets in here, putting them all back in where they go. I almost forgot where that jet went. Almost didn't do that right. Get that one nice and snug down in there. And I believe we have one more to go. Actually, 2 more. 3 more. 2 more. Ah! Almost got away. That's not the right place. I don't know what I was thinking. There we go. Alright, so I almost missed this jet right here. It's just a little guy. And he goes right in there, right where the breather hose connects. I almost missed him. And you just screw him in there. Just like the rest of them. Snug it up. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is get the needle valve in before you get the float in. Once that needle's in there, you're going to want to make sure the float's hooked on it. Got some yellow on my hand there. Don't know what it's from. Alright, so you're going to want to stick this just right through there like that. And the float's in there. You're good to go. Alright, so I just got all these hoses clamped back on there. And I'm just going to make sure I get these little holders back in the right place. And another screw. Put these last few screws down in there. Alright, so you're gonna just put the carburetor back in there by kind of angling the top in. Get the choke out of the way. These breather hoses out of the way. Sometimes I use a Phillips screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, just to kind of help wedge it up in there and get everything out of the way. It's almost like this carburetor is too big for this bike, really. It's really hard to get back up in there. Well, it's been about 3 weeks since the last time I worked on this thing. As you could probably see in the last video, I was getting pretty mad at it because what happened was on the hot start cable, which goes all the way up to the handlebar, the nut that's on the end of it was just stripped and I could not get it back in for the life of me, so I had to go to the store and order me a new nut. This one is aftermarket and it's aluminum. So I'm gonna go ahead and just throw this on real quick and get the carburetor back in there and we should be good to go. So I'll see you guys when I get it fixed up.